Well, welcome everyone to the Friday Ukraine meeting of Under Earners Anonymous, and I am privileged to be here to share this essentially the same message that I shared over a year ago. And so, if you don't take anything else away from what I say this afternoon, this evening, wherever you are in the world, the bottom line is I can't outgive my higher power. I just, I can't do it. So I say that with reverence and with full awareness that people are in very, very difficult situations, whether it's in personal life, you know, things that are happening in people's different geographical regions or countries, family things. Um, and I, I don't know for, I don't know if people can see behind me. I'll move a little bit. Um, this is a different season from when I wrote before, but perhaps you might be able to see some beautiful flowering bushes that are bright pinks, fuchsia and the color of candy cane ice cream and just beautiful flowers. So if you can't, try to picture them, because those same flowers have caused me great aggravation over the last 2 years because the leaves from the bushes clogged up the drains that drain away rainwater and caused flooding in our basement 3 different times. So the last time I spoke, I was talking about how higher power kept showing up in that process. And I would like to use that as a metaphor because these were not small floods. They weren't, an inch or two of water, but a whole foot of water in the basement. And that meant that we had to get the flooring redone again after completely getting the basement, the floor torn up, walls, drywall taken out, baseboards taken out, the bathroom repaired, the carpeting taken up. Anyway, it was a huge process. And in the process of that, after the third time, the insurance company just said, bye bye, we're not covering you anymore. So I don't know if insurance is the same in the countries of people who will be listening to this talk, but that was a very serious situation because if we had a fire or more flooding or lightning struck our house and we didn't have insurance, that could mean that, after 40 years of being here, my mom would lose her home. Okay, so that my metaphor is uh, the the flower bushes out in the back that are now gloriously blooming after causing so much pain over the last couple of years. So what I'd like to do is tell you a few things about how that relates to recovery from under earning, what it used to be like, what happened, and more what it's like now. So um, I'm going to look at my notes a little bit because I did a sequence. So the first thing I said is I can't outgive my higher power, whom I call God. I can't outgive God. No matter how many crazy things kept happening with the flooding, God kept showing up. And I can't recall if I told this group, because I know I told some other groups when I shared that even after we had gotten the basement floors completely redone, one of my mom's caregivers accidentally dropped a plastic bag into uh, it fell into the sink where the washing machine drains. And so the whole big industrial sink filled up with water and overflowed through the laundry room floor into the basement that had just been remodeled. And I never come down here and stand at a particular area in the basement. But for some reason, I did that day. I was talking with the contractor, and we both stood and looked as water poured through the ceiling. I mean, it just was unbelievable. So I turned off the water. He cut a hole in the ceiling, put big fans under the ceiling and dried it out, repaint, put drywall back in it and repainted it. And he did not charge me. And we never told my mom. He didn't charge for it. So if that's not a picture of God doing for me what I cannot do for myself, I mean, that one thing. But then I told you that the insurance company uh, fired us. And I contacted probably 20 different companies. I filled out an appeal with the um, state of Maryland uh, division of uninsurance to see if we could get a different kind that was paid part was run through the state. I took lots of action steps, but I kept hearing, I've got this, don't worry. I've got this, don't worry. And so I just kept taking next right action steps. Meanwhile, all kinds of other stuff was going wrong in the house. More things were breaking. It's been a crazy year and a half. Um, so, but about maybe 10 days before our deadline was to not any longer have any insurance, we got a letter from the insurance company. In fact, I just had talked with two brokers who might have been able to offer us an insurance policy that would be very expensive and wouldn't cover very much. I mean, so we got a letter from the insurance company saying they reinstated us. Now, for anyone who's been through insurance nightmares, that hardly ever happens. It was, and when I talked with the two different guys who were going to see if they could get a policy to cover us, they couldn't believe it. They were just shocked and they were so happy for our family. So I say this because my journey with under earning started when, well, I guess the recovery from under earning really started after having been in several other 12-step programs for maybe 30 years already. And
10 minutes.
Oh, thank you, Olga. So, okay. So, well, I'll just say that I needed each previous program before I got to UA to give me enough of a foundation to be able to start looking at what the causes and conditions for my under earning were. So, to continue the metaphor of the clogged up, the flooding, the flooding was caused because the sump pumps that drain the water away from the basement patio, they got clogged up with debris, dirt, and very fine sand, branches, some trash, leaves from the trees, leaves from the bushes. And so the water couldn't move through there. So it just stayed and rose and rose and rose and then came into the house. So I liken that to, getting those drains unclogged is very much about what using the steps and tools of Under Earners Anonymous is all about for me. So, having gone through the steps once, and I'm in the middle of doing a very extended fourth step with a co-sponsor, but I worked with a wonderful, wonderful sponsor for 5 years. And I think it took us 3 years to go through the steps the way we did it. And I'm really grateful for that because I think it truly got down to the beliefs and the behaviors and the experiences of childhood and early adulthood that shaped a progressive sense that I didn't deserve to have income. I didn't deserve to be treated as a professional in work situations, that I didn't deserve to speak up for my needs. And so what I've experienced in the last year in particular, as I have done caregiving for my mom, had the really cool gift of dog sitting and house sitting that came from my sister-in-law, friends of my sister-in-law, um, continuing to do part-time tutoring online and working with, in particular, one student who has just made incredible strides. Is in each of those situations, again, I can't outgive my higher power. Um, to date, we have had more than 40 different caregivers at our home over this last year for a variety of reasons. You know, sometimes they just come one shift or two or three, but just dealing with all of those people, dealing with extended family, um, cousins on both sides of the family, many deaths in our extended family this year. I just feel like with each situation, if I apply steps 1, 2, and 3, that I am powerless over blank, and my life has become unmanageable, whether it's with, um, another caregiver, or if it's with one of these house management issues, or my exhaustion. And then if I take it through steps 4, 5, and 6, where I look at, okay, what is my part where I'm either being selfish, dishonest, self-seeking, trying to manage it and get it to go my way, um, inconsiderate, where I'm not considering um, God's bigger picture, where I'm not considering the other person's point of view, where I'm not being considerate of myself. Am I just plain exhausted and I need rest? So, and then admitting that to myself, to God, and to others, um, and then asking for the character defects or defenses to be removed, and not trying to go it alone. So it doesn't matter whether it's been the hard physical labor involved with cleaning out the sump pumps and unclogging them so that they could work again, or finding a plumber we could work with, and just saying, God, I have no idea. Please provide a plumber. And having this wonderful man, he's from Laos, come, and he several times he didn't charge us for stuff he did because he felt like I was kind of like his younger sister, and I just didn't know what I was doing. When does that happen? I mean, we had to buy a new backup generator because I messed up the first one. But the great news of recovery was I didn't shame myself about that. I've been handling as much as I possibly could. And I just have to accept I am not perfect. I need help. So I've asked my brother and sister-in-law for help. I've asked my niece for help. Um, uh, my co-sponsor has just been amazing in terms of, she has had she did caregiving for her family member also, and had a lot of experiences she could share with me. Um, so
5 minutes.
Thank you, Olga. So one of the great joys is that one of the caregivers gave me this beautiful metal box, and I don't know what country it's from, but that has been my new God box. So what I've been doing is whenever there's one of these big things, I write it on a little slip of paper, and I just say a prayer, and I put it in my God box, and it has been amazing. I have had 2 really wonderful vacations, one to California and one recent, just a week ago, up to the Pacific Northwest. And I just, again, I can't outgive God. I went to help my cousin get her parents' house ready for sale. And she gave me so many different things that practically we needed here. And to have the miles to be able to pay for the ticket is just a direct expression of recovery in UA, because I pay off cards that, a card that I use, I pay it off 5 or 6 times a month. So I'm never accruing debt, but I'm always gaining miles. So I had this beautiful, beautiful home to stay in that would have cost thousands of dollars, no exaggeration, with Airbnb, because I paid for an Airbnb in California, and I had the money to do that. And that was the money that I made from dog sitting and house sitting, and the dog sitting and house sitting were just total gifts to me, because they got me out of this house and gave me a break. But that money paid for my Airbnb in California. So I hope that I say with full awareness that our life circumstances are all so different. And but I really felt like I was doing battles on this year with just being completely overwhelmed. And each time, if I slept, if I exercised, if I tried to eat healthily, if I stayed connected to my co-sponsor, my sponsee, my action team, my daily meetings, writing my inventory, sending my gratitudes, being available to be of service, and then also withdrawing from a lot of service because I realized I needed to do another program. It's just my higher power keeps showing up. So, whatever your specific circumstances right now, I hope that if you have a God box, that whatever your higher power is, and if you have a higher power box, that you keep putting the little slips of paper in, and those messy azalea bushes will burst forth in their glory after being such a pain to clog up the sump pump. And mm, I will say, because I'm not sure, uh, there was one situation that was very difficult for me, and I needed to fire somebody I just wasn't being okay with. And maybe in a different season, that person and I could have worked well together in the house, but it was such a huge relief. And I pray for her. She's a really lovely person in a lot of ways, but we were butting heads and it was making me physically ill. So to just say, we need somebody different, she's great, but it's just not a match, was a huge success. And God bless her. I hope she's doing really well. And I'm so glad that we have different people here now. So I think surrendering to the seasons. I'm not in charge of when we get wind or hailstorms or the branches fall off the huge trees around my mom's yard. And then, you know, um, I'm so surrender. And I'm really, really grateful for Under Earners Anonymous and how the principles of the steps and the recovery are applicable in every area of life, in every season, in every place, and with every challenge. So I will keep it there, and thank you very much for letting me share.
Thank you so much, Leanne, for your beautiful, beautiful share. So I guess now we'll have a Q&A or shares. Is there anybody who has a question? Leanne, I wondered if the UA Ukraine group knows what a God box is, and I wanted to ask you if you would explain that and how you use it. Thank you.
What a great question. Dang, I wish I would have thought to bring it downstairs. I would go get it, but it would take me 3 minutes. Um, so a God box, or it doesn't have to be a box, but a container, and mine is very pretty. It's a circular metal box that has beautiful enamel on the top with many colors. It looks like a stained glass window. And I love it because the caregiver who gave it to me is such a dear heart. She's so kind and so hardworking, and she's just a wonderful person, very, very deeply spiritual person. So I have a lot of feelings of affection and gratitude for that box itself. And so a God box is a container to hold any of my concerns, my prayer requests, my thanks, things that I want to turn over to God. And yeah, things I want to turn over to God. So sometimes there have been times where I would put something in almost every day, but right now it's more putting something in that I feel like, yeah, I really can't manage this, like the insurance, or trying to figure out where I was going to stay in California for vacation. or the decision on whether or not to extend to be here for more than a year. So, yeah. And then it's really fun at the end of the year or whenever to look back at the different slips of paper and see how higher power has shown up. It's mind-boggling. So thank you for the question, Olga.
Thank you, Leanne. Does anyone else have a question?
Yes, Claire, I have got a question. Thank you, Leanne, for thank you so much, Leanne, for the share. It's also a question about the God box, because Claire, under beer in recovery, I use the technique of the little papers, but they are a little all over the place. I put them in a place where I know I will remember them, you know. And so my question is that the God box, when you put the paper in it, you said you read the paper, but do you read them every week, every month, every year? What do you do with them? Do you look at the papers in the God box?
Great question. And I understand, I know these pieces of paper, and then do I throw them away or do I keep them?
Yes,
I
yes.
think it's different in different seasons. So I definitely look at them at the end of the year. But sometimes when I'm feeling discouraged or confused, I take some out to see, oh yeah, remember I was so afraid about this, or I was furious about this, and look what happened. And I don't think there's ever been anything that I put in the box that wasn't taken care of somehow.
Okay.
So, I think sometimes I have also gratitude books, really beautiful handmade paper books that I just wrote one page a day that I would keep for years to go back and remember. So that's easier to manage in some ways than the slips of paper. Um, but I don't have a schedule for when I look at it. It's just when my heart needs a
Okay.
pickup.
Thank you so much, Leanne. So you said you have a gratitude books. That means that when you, because I'm practicing the gratitude thing, but so you write your gratitudes in a book. Is it that I understood?
Yes, and so right now, and I don't do it every day, which I'm allowing myself, but I have a partner, and we share 12 gratitudes, 3 wins, and 3 actions. And so we do those by email, but I really like the feel of a pen and paper, and so I have just little, about this big. Well, you can't really see my hands, but maybe about the size of a small paperback book, but not as thick. And the paper and the cover are very beautiful. I know you're an artist, so I know you would appreciate this. So I like writing with a fountain pen and different colors of ink and just saying thank you for, or, little bullets or little stars, and just helping me to remember, for example, my phone, so my dog sitting job grew to 2 dogs, one who I have blood on my arms because he's so happy that he jumps up and down. And I dropped my phone walking the 2 dogs and I didn't know where it was. Well, guess what? I kept hearing, just relax, I've got this. So, to make a long story short, I went home for that day because it was late in the afternoon. And the next day, I took my mom's flip phone and I went back to that house and I dialed my number on her phone, and I could hear out in the backyard my phone ringing. It hadn't rained. I had looked already in the yard, but I didn't see it. And so there was my phone. Again, I could not outgive God. um, so, yeah, I really, it would have been
Thank you so much.
so.
Thank you, Leanne. Sherry Lynn, you have your hand up.
I do. Let me see it, lower it. So I actually, in my latest move, I lost my God can, and I have a God can, not a God box. God can, I can't. I think I'll let him. And I drink this magnesium supplement called Calm, and I had an empty container, anti-stress Calm, and it had a pretty picture on it. So I made that my God can. And I also wrote on it on the side, God can, I think I'll let him. And then I also belong to, it says God can on the side. And then it says, I belong to another fellowship where we turn our burdens over to Bruno. So, and Bruno has this thing called a trash can. So it's also Bruno's trash can, and Bruno is my friend. And I was just looking in here, and I've got like 3 big pieces of paper in here, and I haven't looked at them, and I don't often look at them, and I sometimes forget I have a God can, and I know I always feel better when I use it. And I wanted to say that one person told me at the end of the year, or after a certain period of time, don't even look at them, just burn them. Release them into the atmosphere and just burn them. And so I tried that a couple times, and I've also sometimes gone back and read them. And as was said previously, oftentimes I'll find, oh, that's not an issue anymore, or oh, that's been knocked down like 3 or 4 notches, and it's not as pressing an issue. And I really love the God can. So thanks for the reminder.
Thanks for the visual. I love your God can. That's really cool. And the plug for magnesium. Whoop, whoop.
Does anyone else have a question or want to share?
Can I actually have a share?
Yeah, sure. Do you want a 3-minute share, or
Sure.
do you want to
That
time
sounds.
yourself, or do you want me to time you?
If you could time me, that'd be great.
I
And
can
maybe
do
just
that. Go ahead.
30 seconds
Sure.
notice. So one of the things that's been going on for me is that I became a grandma in almost a year ago, June 4th, but I didn't know until a month later. And my older son and I have not had the best relationship over the past several years. And I've been really sad that he doesn't want me to meet my granddaughter, and that he's afraid that I will put her at risk because my doctors don't want me to be vaccinated, and I'm not vaccinated. And I want to report a God wink, or a higher power moment for me that just brought tears to my eyes and made me feel so much better. Yesterday at the Hebrew school where I teach, we had a speaker from Ukraine. She was a Ukrainian refugee living in Westchester, New York, by herself with 2 young daughters, 2 young babies. One's about a year and the other one's 2 years old. And she was sharing, she is married, but her husband can't leave Ukraine, and her mother and father and her brother are also in Ukraine. So she's not all alone, but she is alone here. And I heard her sharing her story when my students were asking questions. She said, well, yeah, it's hard, being here without my family. And this light went off in my head and my heart and said, okay, I cannot shower my granddaughter with physical love and attention and presence, even though I'm sending her videos and audios and hats and scarves and quilts and stuff. But maybe uh, this woman or others like her might benefit from a surrogate grandmother. And so I reached out to her, and I contacted the organization that was helping her to see if there was some way that I could be a surrogate grandparent to some people who are refugees. And even if nothing comes of it, just the thought of that made me feel so much better. And rather than stressing on, oh, I can't see my granddaughter, I can't hold her, maybe there's someone else whose child or grandchild, another grandmother who can't hold her grandbaby. I can hold her for her. And that just being able to turn my desires that are unmet into something that could be of service to others and also fill some of that need for myself, just it just made me feel so much better. So I wanted to share that. Thanks.
Thank you, Sherilyn. It's really beautiful. Claire, would you like to share?
Okay, Olga, why not? Thank you. But Claire, under beer in recovery, I feel I don't know if I have something to share. It's always the same thing. But no, I want to share. First, thank you, Leanne. Really, I am very attracted by the calm and the spiritual message. Myself, I am now slowly accepting this fibromyalgia, and I am committed to do 40 days of gratitude. Like I call somebody and we exchange 10 gratitudes. I feel really better, and I realize that people, they like when they are asked to say gratitudes. And for me, it's good because I am now even, I am saying thank you for this health condition, because it helps me having compassion for people who suffer like me and even more than me. I thank also God for all the difficulties I have got in my house, because it's a challenge and because it helps. I need to be more humble, probably till now, in spite of having more than 20 years in another, in my, let's say, first fellowship, core fellowship. Maybe I was not that humble. Maybe I think I had sometimes, the tendency to judge or not accept the under-earning in the people around me. And now I see that if I have not compassion for myself, there is no way I can have compassion for the others. It's really a tough one, that one. And I am like forced to see what is important in life. Like for me, of course, the first thing in my life, it's my art, my music. But now that with my health condition, even that sometimes is withdrawn from me. You can't imagine the pain. Like I see the day, and if I have only 6 hours where I can be, let's say, active, sometimes there is no time for music. Even if I'm sure that being
30
able,
seconds.
thank you, being able to practice again would be healing. So I am there, just asking for directions and praying. And I thank you so much for this meeting tonight, of course.
Thank you so much, Claire.
Right.
So I'll take a quick share. It's kind of an odd time in my life. I retired a year ago, and I spent the first 6 months traveling. I took 10 trips, 10 overnight trips in 6 months. I just enjoyed it. And then I took some time to deal with some health problems, and the last 6 months have been really tough. One is a foot problem. I wore a boot. I got orthotics. I this, I that. I saw 4 different specialists, got 4 different diagnoses, and I think the last one was probably the correct one. And and I have a back problems that come and go, and then that acted up in a really difficult way. And the last 3 months have been really challenging. I'm finally getting to a better place, and honestly, I have a medical massage therapist, and what he told me is that he said, I can do all this great for you and work for you, and your chiropractor can do all this great work for you, but you really need to strengthen your muscles. And you really need to do that, because otherwise, we're going to do this great work, and then the next day you're going to be in the same boat. And you know what? I finally heard it. I just finally heard it. I've never understood it. I did find a YouTube video on a quadratus lumborum stretch. It's like these muscles in the lumbar spine, and doing that exercise was transformational for me, because it showed me that what I thought is like a structural problem, because my body gets all twisted out. I can actually move out of that problem with that stretch. And it showed me that my behavior can make a difference. And I do so much stretching every day, and I think it's too much stretching. I think it's too much. I feel sorry for myself. My son said, you should put on your notifications and see how much screen time you use. And you should do that much time exercising or stretching a day. I just had to laugh, and I said, you know what? It's funny, isn't it, that we think we can't do something, and then if we're willing to listen, somebody shows us that maybe there's actually a different way, and we can do it differently. So I am now actually really believing, after this back problem for me started in 1987, and it's something that comes and goes, and I finally believe that I need to do all that strengthening stuff that I've had it given to me a couple times over the years, and then my back gets better and I stop. And you know what? It's time for me to listen. I'm a little thick-headed, and I'm finally grateful that my ears are open and that I'm listening. And part of that is really program. That this is where I've learned to listen and where I've learned to hear, and I'm just so grateful for that. So thank you. I pass.